Hello boys and girls, thanks for joining us again today. Today we are going to be making a fun leaf print dish. It's a really easygoing, fun project you can do over the weekend. And we are going to be using leaves that we found in our yard. Now it's just the beginning of spring here in Wisconsin, so we don't have many fresh leaves, so we went on a nature hunt in our backyard to find leaves, and they are dry leaves, but they'll work. And we have also grabbed some pine needles and a pine cone, so feel free to get creative with other types of nature that you can imprint in your dish. All right, this is gonna be so much fun. For today's project, we have Crayola air dry clay, we have pencils, we have some water. This is our slurry mix of clay and water, and some objects from nature that we can imprint in our clay. Then we have a little rolling pin. You can use the kitchen one, or if you have any clay tools or Play-Doh tools, this is actually a Play-Doh rolling pin that you can use. So first we are going to take our clay, we're going to put it in a ball, and we're going to knead it. And this is what gets the air bubbles out. So even though we're not firing our clay, we are going to want to get the air bubbles out of it. So sometimes it helps to take your clay and slam it down into a block. That also helps. And when it's in a block, you can then knead it some more, and you push it down between your hands. Okay, and then we're going to start to flatten it a little bit with our hands. And then put it down on your table. And this is where you can take that rolling pin and start to flatten it. So I usually recommend taking a ruler and measuring about 1/4 of an inch and pushing it down to that height on one side, so you have a gauge for how thin your clay should be. Now that we have thinned our clay out to about 1/4 of an inch, we're going to choose what we want to use to imprint our clay. We have some pine needles, we have a pine cone, and some leaves. So I think, let's see, I'm going to use this one. What do you guys want to use?
I want to use a pine cone.
All right.
I don't know yet. Ew.
Oh, Sophia, let me help you. So you're just going to take your leaf and press it into the clay. This is a dried out one, so it's a little challenging. It might break a little bit. This is a good summertime project when the leaves are fresh, but you know, we make do with what we have right now, and getting out in nature is always a really good idea any time of the year. And then we're going to pull it out. So if you decide to use something like a pine cone or pine needles, you'll have to choose what shape you want your dish to be, and you can cut it into that shape. I'm going to have mine in the shape of the leaf, so I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to etch around where the leaf is. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker than the leaf is, where it gets thin in the middle here, because I want my dish to be larger than that. And I don't want it to be too weak. So I want to make sure that it's strong and has no areas that are too thin. So if you decide to use something like a pine cone or pine needles, you'll have to choose what shape you want your dish to be, and you can cut it into that shape. I'm going to have mine in the shape of the leaf, so I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to etch around where the leaf is. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker than the leaf is, where it gets thin in the middle here, because I want my dish to be larger than that. Once you have traced your leaf, you're going to take your clay tools and cut out the leaf. Okay, once you have it cut out, if you have really good clay tools, you might not have rough edges, but we have some rough edges, so we're gonna get our finger wet and we're gonna very carefully smooth the edges of our leaf. And if you find that the imprint of your leaf goes away when you have to do this, you can just go back and take that leaf again and imprint your clay. The initial use of the leaf is for getting the shape of it. And this might also be a good time to double check and make sure that your leaf is able to come off of your surface. If it's not, something that's really good to use underneath it is parchment paper. My imprint kind of faded away, so I'm going to take my leaf again, find the side that has the nicest texture, and then I'm going to press it in again. Or you can choose to get really creative and you can etch a pattern into your leaf. Now, if you want to make this into a dish, I would recommend giving it some shape. And the way that we will do that is by taking some newspaper or some paper, and we're going to crumple it up so that it holds the dish like this. So you want the bottom to stay flat, and then the paper is going to sort of cradle it while it's drying, and it's going to keep the edges of the leaf so that they sit up, and it'll become a nice little dish that you can put trinkets in, you can put jewelry in. And once you let it dry, which will take several days, you can then paint it with acrylic paint and glaze it with the glaze in our supply list. What we're doing to support our clay dishes while they dry and give them some shape is we're just taking a scrap sheet of paper and we're going to roll up the sides. We want it to be flat in the middle so that when the dish sits and when it dries, it is flat on the surface. And you just want those sides to be up on the sculpture. So this is how mine looks right now and how it's going to dry. I have it flat in the middle and then the sides are turned up on the paper. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us again today. Did you guys have fun?
Yes!
It's always fun to get our hands messy and to get out in nature. Be sure to stay tuned to our blog, wildfreeandcrafty.com. Follow us on social media and tag us, wildfreeandcrafty. And we are going to be putting out a new lesson plan and supply list very soon for our next lessons. Can't wait for you to join us. Bye, guys.